So I wanted to do a little sort of Kriya primer for you guys before we jump in. We give you Kriya yoga pranayama techniques to do in your meditation, just very basic Kriya. But I wanted to touch a little more on the importance of Kriya. I know we go a little bit into that in the demonstration video, but Kriya has a lot to do with Kundalini energy, and the Kundalini is it's a very incredible phenomenon, actually, that doesn't get a ton of attention because it's seen as something very advanced and very next level. And it is to an extent. It's not something that I would advise someone who's brand new to all of this to just jump into Kriya or Kundalini yoga. But if we understand the densities, right? If you're familiar with Law of One and some of the videos I've done, we talk about second density is the density of awareness. And that's the density of like animal consciousness, we might say. Microbial life, insect life, plant life, animal life, that whole spectrum. And then we talk about how third density is self-awareness. So in third density, this is where module 1 picks up. We talk about how self-awareness evolved through the advent of language, that by labeling and naming things, the mind gained this new ability to do sort of an about face and flip in on itself and become an object to itself that it can name and have an identity with. So that's what we call self-awareness. And that is where a whole new dimension of consciousness opened up to the human, right? From self-awareness of third density in the solar plexus, when that was activated, technology, language, economics, we could go on and on. All the things we see in the world today that sets the difference between humans and any other animal species, that's all due to third density consciousness awakening. So we know that from first density to second, the big transition point was becoming aware, when the 5 elements evolved into some kind of microbial life that could actually move around and interact with its environment. That's the bridge from first to second density. The bridge from second to third density is when the mind became self-aware. I exist. I'm separate. I'm an individual self that has meaning to my life and a past and a future. That's the bridge to third density. So the question is, what's the next bridge to fourth density consciousness, right? What is that gate, that bridge that's going to allow the human to access higher consciousness, which is latent in potential in the system? And the answer is the Kundalini energy. So the Kundalini energy is essentially the feminine energy, pure life force energy. And that's why the Hindus call it Shakti. Shakti is the root chakra, which is really the power center of the 7 energy centers. And they say that Shakti rises when the Kundalini opens through the Sushumna, which is the channel up the spinal column. The Kundalini force, life energy, shoots up the Sushumna and meets the third eye, which is Shiva. In the Hindu tradition, Shakti and Shiva are married, husband and wife. And it's as if in the human being, they're apart from one another at the root chakra and the third eye chakra. And so this super consciousness energy is available in every human at the base of the spine. There's actually a gland apparently in the base of the spinal column that shoots up the cerebral spinal fluid. Joe Dispenza does a great job teaching about this. And so when the pathway is open through spiritual practicing, spiritual balancing, Kriya yoga, any kind of spiritual practice whatsoever, is ultimately all awakening Kundalini life force in the human. And when that channel can make it up through the third eye and Shakti and Shiva can reunite, we achieve a kind of a state of super consciousness, right? Which is the Kundalini awakening that people describe as, it makes you genius at whatever you're good at. It opens up all kinds of dimensions of awareness, and inner planes of bliss are experienced and all this stuff. But the thing about Kundalini energy is that it can be sort of, I don't want to say dangerous, but if someone has a lot of blockages in the energy centers that they haven't worked on healing through the things we teach here and talk about here, then if they try to open that channel, which it can be done sort of two different ways, directly or indirectly, gradually or forcefully, we might say. Gradually is what we're doing here in this class, working on balancing our energy centers, cleansing our mind, and making that pathway open slowly and gradually. But it can also be done forcefully by stimulating that gland in the root chakra through breath work, really intense breath work. And this is what Joe Dispenza does at his retreats, and people are pulling that prana up through the spine really forcefully. And some people can actually achieve a Kundalini, full-on Kundalini awakening through that. But if there's lots of, think of them like electrical blockages and distortions in the circuit board, then those distortions can sort of blow out the system, and it can even exaggerate certain personality disorders. Sometimes it can intensify things like depression or whatever blockages might be there. So you really do want to clear those blockages out before you try to activate the Kundalini. But the Kundalini energy, the Shakti power that activates the third eye and takes us to super consciousness, basically when that happens, you become a fourth density being in a third density body. The fourth density energy that turns you into a light body in fourth density, that's the Kundalini energy. So that is the energy that will eventually, over millions of years, cause us to evolve into a pure light body, because it's just too much power for a physical vehicle to channel by itself. It has to become more and more light energy, increase its vibration, right? So going back to Kriya now we see the importance and the benefits of Kriya yoga, which is a very gentle, slow activation of that Kundalini life force as we're drawing up the breath slowly and gently up to the third eye, letting it wash back down. We're sort of milking the Kundalini with that prana. So as we talk about in this course, that will open up, as each chakra receives more of that prana. It's really just like a muscle, right? You're doing reps, and every time you push energy through that chakra, it's getting a little more powerful and capable of sustaining that energy level. So that will cause imbalances and distortions in those chakras, the lower three, to become more prevalent in your awareness, meaning you won't even know that this is really happening from Kriya, because it's very gentle and gradual, but it just opens up the funnel of your awareness more and more as your chakras are able to hold more energy in them. So awareness can start seeing those blockages because they become more noticeable to you in your energy. Like you become more sensitive to anxiety or judgments or whatever it is. You start to notice the disharmony in the system. So Kriya is a very safe, gentle, and effective way of slowly priming the Sushumna channel with prana. And at the right time and place, when the chakras are ready for it, that Kundalini power may rise all the way to the third eye and essentially shoot you into a fourth density state. So whenever you experience bliss, what we call bliss, bliss is actually the feeling that energy has. Like if you could feel what is pure energy like, we call it bliss. And we are pure energy. This body is just a quantum event that's organized to look like I'm a person here. This is just pure light you're looking at, right? Pure light you're seeing when you look at your hand. So in a sense, we're already in a light body. It's just a very dense, slow vibrating light body. So how and why does the light body increase its vibration and become pure electromagnetic energy? Because the soul, the inward consciousness, is connecting with that bliss of the self, which forces the density to expand and become more and more light, right? So if you could imagine, like, what would it be like to be a pure light body? If you watched the video I posted on Thursday, when we go through the densities and showed the fifth density, there's that shot of how a fifth density being is pure light and it can organize through thought. And those particles kind of came together into a person meditating. Like, think about what would that feel like to be pure light? You say, well, how could I possibly have every one of those photons under my conscious control? And to that question, I say, How do you have all the muscles in your hand under your control, right? And your feet and your all the muscles in your body. You don't know how you're doing it, but such is the power of consciousness, right? It has no limitations. So being a pure light body would feel no different than being a physical body here. I don't know how I'm doing any of this. In the same way, a fifth density or sixth density being can rearrange the photons into whatever form they want to appear to you as a person or an animal or whatever being they want. And you have to start wondering, what is the evolutionary path that allows species to evolve like that throughout the universe? And it's through super consciousness. It is through connecting with the bliss of remembering I am pure energy. I am light expressing itself as this. And so Kriya is a great way to start experiencing that bliss. And when you get to the point in bliss, in the meditation where you're experiencing bliss regularly and you can learn to tap into it, that's a very powerful state of mastery to begin operating in, where you can connect with the inner well-being in any situation you want. That's really what the state of mastery is. The name of this course is Master Your Mind, right? Mastery is being able to access the most desirable state of consciousness in any given situation at will. So if you need to be in peace, in clarity of mind, no matter what's happening on the exterior, you can dive inwards and find that peace in that center and begin using intuition, allowing higher knowledge to tell you what the best course of action is, right? You just have such an immediate access to higher consciousness. You have to earn that right through practicing it, connecting with it, falling in love with it. And so that's why I've included Kriya in this course so much, because it's just the best way I've discovered of really building that connection.